Welcome to Season 4 of the Knack for Business podcast.
Before we get into today's conversation, Canada Growth Network. Here's the math. A full CRM, email marketing, funnels, and automations for less than a coffee a day. That's $47 a month Canadian with a $1 trial to start. If you're building a business and still duct taping tools together, check the link in the show notes.
So we're going to discuss what goes into starting a business. Well, obviously, first you have to have an idea and you have to have an interest in some business, but you need to be passionate about that business before you even get into it. You have to have the passion. Why do I say that? Because I got a very strange question asked me by a group that I was going to speak to before, and they sent in questions. And one person wrote, do I have to be passionate about the business I'm going into? But I couldn't believe somebody would actually go into a business that they weren't passionate about. You cannot survive. You cannot grow to go to work. And so that's the first thing. Be passionate about the business you're looking into. Now, after you've decided what business you're going to start, you need to start discussing that business with your family. It's really important that your family is on side. If they're not on side, you're in trouble because you're going to have to rely on your family when you start your business. You're going to have to rely on, if you're married, your spouse to earn more money, or understand that there's going to be a cash problem going forward because you need to use that money for your business and you can't take it out. Your family should know, your children should know that you're going to miss some events sometimes because you're not working 35, 40 hours a week. You're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week on your new business. And it's really important to know you're not going to be making money in the first year. So things are going to be tight. So you better be passionate and you better have your family on side. Now, if you're not married and family and have those, constraints on your money from the outside, then do you have a family, your parents, your siblings that will, in essence, let you live there almost rent free or rent free? So all your money goes back to your business. You need to find that because cash is king in a business. And if you have to take the money out of the business to pay all your bills, you're not going to survive unless you have all the money you need to start the business, which most people don't have. Many of you are making or developing a business plan for your business, and that's terrific. However, a business plan will never get you a penny's worth of financing from outside sources such as a bank or other lenders. It will help with families and friends that may lend you money, but will not help you with a bank. But a business plan will prevent you from getting financing if you don't do it properly. And I see a lot of business plans. One thing that every business plan has that is just not true, at the end of the first year is making money. And I can tell you that maybe 1 or 2% of businesses make money in the first year. But everybody puts it down because they think their lenders want to see that. No, the lenders want to see that you actually know everything in your expenses, that you understand real financing. You're not getting bank financing because you started a nice business. You're getting bank financing because you have security. You don't You have to find other financings. So that business plan is going to help tell a story of, do you understand the business? Do you understand how it's going to grow? Do you understand all your expenses and costs? And I can tell you most people don't. And that leads us, think, is really the most important thing before you open the door. And that is putting your team together. Your team is 3 people. Your team is a lawyer, a corporate lawyer, not your brother-in-law, the real estate lawyer. It's a corporate lawyer. It's a commercial lawyer. A commercial lawyer who has litigation experience, has that experience in their office. They understand commercial documents, whether it's a general agreement that you're going to sign if you borrow money, whether it's contracts that you're going to sign for leasing. How do you understand the leasing agreements? You need a proper lawyer in place. The second one is you need an accountant in place who will help set up your business from the accounting point of view. Are all your books ready to go? Do you know how to send in your tax remittance each month, each quarter for HST, how you do your source deductions, how you do payroll, how you set up your business for a shred, scientific research and educational development? That's a really important thing in some businesses, and you need to set it up properly. So get that accountant. And here's the one question you ask the accountant when you're picking an accountant. And it's just one question. Now they have to be a business accountant. They're not just a personal accountant. But the question is this: should I incorporate on day one, or should I wait until I get bigger? If they say incorporate, right, that's your accountant. If they say wait, find a new accountant. Incorporation is your first line of insurance. It takes you away. It separates you from the business and anything that happens that goes wrong with the business, unless you specifically give a personal guarantee. But if you're sole proprietor, you're giving a personal guarantee on everything that you do. including liabilities, not just signing for rent and things like that. Your lawyer and accountant, especially a lawyer, will help you not sign some personal guarantees or really explain them to you. Sometimes you have to sign them, you have no choice, such as getting money from a bank. But you don't have to sign them with everybody. You don't have to sign them with your landlord. In today's economy, you probably don't have to sign them. You can just say no because there's a lot of vacancies. Now, you've come up with the idea, you've spoken to your family, you haven't opened up the door yet because you have to find financing. That's the next thing on your list. Your accountant's not going to help you generally find the financing, neither is your lawyer generally. Your business advisor is that third person in the group. That business advisor is not a business coach. Business advisor and a business two different things. A business advisor helps you, understands financing, has been around in the financing business, not just one area such as leases or mortgages. They've done everything and they've made a living doing it for the last 3, 4, 5 years. So it's factoring, purchase order financing. They understand bankruptcy laws, which is really important to understand. They understand security. They know about interest and where it works and where it doesn't, and how much you should be paying for it, and how much is too much and how much isn't too much. Like in my book, I show how factoring at 45% interest is cheaper than a bank at 3%, apples to apples. A bank is 3% a year, and the factoring is 3% a month with a yield of 45%. And I can show you how 45% is a lot cheaper than a limited 3% line of credit at the bank, as you're in the business of making money, not seeing how much interest you are paying. You want to be fair, you want to grow your business. So that's where a business advisor comes in. Advisor comes in and helps you sort of determine how much you're going to charge for your product. Your accountant's giving you the numbers. You have to figure out how much you're going to charge for your product. Because one important thing is it's none of your business how much your clients will pay for your service or your product. It's only your concern and your business of how much you need to charge in order to stay in business. If nobody will pay you that, find a new business. Huh? The advisor is going to help you deal with big box stores if you're B2B trying to sell to large grocery chains or Home Depot or any large company like that. Because you have to understand before you go in and give a price, what really happens when you sell to one of these big box stores. Pretty simple, straightforward. But if you don't know, you're going to go bankrupt. And you're going to go bankrupt because you're going to tie up all your money with the big box store and you're not going to be able to have the money to service your smaller clients where you do make money. So you need that advisor to help you understand what you should be charging to that to Walmart or wherever it may be. So that's really important to business advisor. Business advisor helps you when you can't collect from a client, or when you have a client, or when you have a supplier who's demanding money that you don't have. This happened during COVID, and not just by accident, but COVID brought it to the forefront. I had vendors call me up; they can't collect. I had clients that call me up. We need the product from our supplier, but he won't sell to us because we owe them money, and they want the 60,000 before they'll ship to us again. We don't get it. We're out of business. But that also hurts the vendor because if the client is out of business, the vendor doesn't have has one less client. So how do we fix that? How do we work on debt? How do we work with everybody to get back on side? So the things that I did at that time is that I went to the vendor and I said, listen, the client does not have money to pay you, but the client needs you and you can sell to them. Well, we don't want to sell to them until they pay us. I said, listen, if they're not in business, you're not getting paid. So why don't we do this? Why don't you sell to the client COD and upcharge your invoice by 5 or 10%? And over the next 6, 12, 18 months, the client will have bought from you COD, so no credit worries. You've made a profit, and they will have paid off the 50, 60, $100,000 they owe you because you upcharged the invoice. Now everybody's happy. Sometimes the vendor would say, well, what if they'd stop paying me? "Oh, well, they stop paying you, they stop paying you. Meanwhile, you sold for 6 months and you collected on your debt for 6 months. Because your alternative was to sue them, pay the money to your lawyer, hope they're in business when you get the judgment in 2 or 3 years, and they're in business to pay you. Or you can sell right and keep them in business and make money all the way through. Because you didn't make any money while you sued them, you just spent money. So it's important to have that advisor that can come from all sides to help you out, that understands bankruptcy laws, which your lawyer should know and your accountant should know. But you have to understand these different things to make your business work because everything's going to come at you and you can't possibly know everything. But if you put together the proper team, they know everything. And all you have to do is be smart enough each day, each week, each month, follow up with them and let them know what's going on. Every time a document comes to you, my lawyer has to review it. Now, it's a great tip, an idea to say that because a crooked person's looking for you to sign something doesn't want you to go to the lawyer. The straightforward businesses, sure, go to your lawyer, let us know if there's any problems or any things that we could discuss. So it's a tester, and they're there to protect you. Now, many people say, I can't afford it at the beginning. I can promise you this, the few $1,000s that you spend setting up your business properly is far less than what you pay me to fix your problem down the road. And you will find out you'll be in a lot less problems if you set up your company properly at the beginning, as opposed to trying to fix a problem down the road. And that's where your team comes into play. Rely on your team. They have vast experience in different areas, and you get to use them to help you grow your business. Again, pricing your product or service is really important. You don't want to be the least expensive. You don't necessarily want to be the most expensive. There have actually been companies out there who have sold a product for $20 and it didn't work. And instead of lowering it to $10, they raised it to $70 and they couldn't keep the product in stock because there's a perceived value sometimes. And I learned this very young, and you learn from everything. Every company you work for, I don't care if you're making $17 an hour. Ask everybody questions in there. Ask and understand everybody's job because that's going to help you in the future. But I had a product when I was real young. I made a fur headband. Cost me $11 to make, two foxtails and a piece of elastic. And I sold them for $29.95. My mink earmuffs, fox earmuffs, I sold for more because it cost me more to make. I didn't know anything about retail. I just figured out what I would charge, bump it up based on what it cost me. Well, not everybody thought that $29.95 made it real fur. They thought it was fake fur. So the next year I raised it to $39.95 and sold more. The following year I raised it to $49.95 and sold way more, to the point where I couldn't get enough up to keep up with the demand. People felt better buying $50 product than a $30 product, even though it cost me the same amount and it was the exact same price. So sometimes you have to understand your market there, but you're in business to make money. Go back to your accountant, go back to your business advisor and discuss what you want to charge and what. Now, sometimes you have products that cost you a dollar and you sell for $1.50. Sometimes you have products buy for a dollar and you sell for $12. But it's a combination of that to keep you going. And the business advisor and the accountant are going to help you understand your expenses of getting those products in. Whether you import them, there's duties, there's not duties, there's transportation costs. How do you fix that? How do you buy from overseas without paying up front? When I say up front, a lot of companies who have tried to buy into China and other countries, those countries say, "Oh, you got to send us some money up front, or 50% up front and 50% when we're ready to ship." And I say, no, don't do that. And that's being a business advisor. You have to put the money up, put it up in a letter of credit. Put it up in a letter of credit where the credit letter of credit isn't cashed until the goods are on boat and you have the bill of lading. That protects you in two ways. One, the goods, you don't pay for something that isn't shipped. And two, anybody that needs money in China up front to do your order doesn't have money to deliver to you. So they're taking your money hoping you're going to hope you're going to get your product. But they're using that money to probably build somebody else's items. So protect yourself. Ask questions. You don't have to pay, you do not have to follow the rules of the clients that are selling to you. They don't have to follow your rules. There has to be a compromise. But you have to understand how to protect yourself. And the people with the experience are going to help protect you. They're going to help determine your price, the services that you're giving. Start off with a lot of different items that they sell or the product or services they offer. But it's about finding out after a year or two which ones are making you money and which aren't. And then what happens is you cut off the ones that aren't. You don't keep them on just to help one of your clients. You tell your client where they can get the service somewhere else, or just say you don't do it anymore. Or you just charge a lot more money for it. My father was an orthodontist, and he was writing for the Toronto Star, and he wrote about TMJ, problems with your jaw, which drives people crazy. And most of them don't have it, but they kept coming to my father because he read the article. He couldn't handle the business. He kept raising the price and it still kept coming, but at least he was making more money to handle this problem that came to him by, he did it, but he didn't do it purposely, but he just kept changing and raising the prices to try to get the people to leave. So don't carry a product just to satisfy your clients if you're not making money. Because again, you're in business to make money. That is the purpose of being in business, is to make money. Okay? The service people need, are you the best at it? Being the best at it, working up, warranting your products. There's lots of different ways for you to be the best. And it doesn't have to be because you're the least expensive or the most expensive. Be the best and have that combination and deal with your team to figure out how you can be the best at it. There's, you after that, It's setting up your business, where you're going to locate it, the size, the equipment, the employees. One thing I learned the hard way when I was in that fur business, $2,000 money I wasted was the best $2,000 I ever throw down a toilet. The best. I learned a very valuable lesson. Just because you're the president doesn't mean you don't do the work. And I was the president of a company. I was 22 or 23 years old, so I thought it was a big title. But I watched TV while I paid two kids to do work for me. And then after the $2,000, I had to do 90% of the work over again. And no business after that did I hire anybody if I could do the job. Until I couldn't do the job, I did it. When I couldn't, that's when I hired somebody. Now, who do you hire? Well, you want the best person. So you have to pay the best price. When I was in that fur business, I had a retail place. I paid 50 for the minimum wage. A lot of money. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was 50% was more. And people kept asking me, how do you keep getting people to show up? Nobody shows up. Or 1 out of 10 people show up from the ad. I said, because I pay more money than you do. It wasn't because I was paying more money. That money was very valuable to me in the sense that I could not afford to be down at the retail store Monday to Friday. So I had to have somebody I could count on work for. And if you're getting paid 50% more than somewhere else for doing the same kind of minimal labor job, you're going to work for me. Right? If everybody, so sometimes you have to hire pay more money because you make more money. So therefore, it's less money. It's cost me an extra $110 a week. I could not afford to be down at this place for $110. I had to make everything. So it's really important that you figure out what the best kind of employee is for you. Is it the smartest? Is it the hardest work? It all depends on the business. Again, I said my father was an orthodontist. He's probably the first one that ever had hygienists put brackets on teeth, the little square pieces. Now every orthodontist does, but it's probably the first one. And hygienists at that time would pay $200 a day. My father paid $300. And my mother doing the bookkeeping went nuts. $200 a week. And, even if it's 45 weeks a year, it's $9,000 out of her pocket, right? It's always out of her pocket. But my father said to her, I can't afford them not to show up. I put braces on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If they're here, we make money. If they don't show up, we don't make money and we could lose a patient. So the $9,000 extra, $10,000, whatever it may be extra we pay a year is nothing because we make more money because we have the right people working for us. And sometimes when you pay somebody 50% more, they might do double the amount of work or make less mistakes. Mistakes cost money. You need the right people again in that team to understand things. And, uh, one of the ways people finance their business sometimes personally, because they're bootstrapping it, they may take out a second mortgage on their house to lend it to their business. Well, this is where you go to a commercial lawyer instead of a real estate lawyer. A commercial lawyer will be able to do the following for you, which no real estate agent lawyer's ever done or thought about. Neither is any mortgage broker. But I tell everybody that's going to take money out of their home to put it into their business, you do it as a registered loan. You take a general securities agreement out on your business. Doesn't matter what position, and you can always move it back down if a bank comes or anybody else. You take out that general securities agreement, which is a document that really call it a personal guarantee against the business. In the United States, it's a UCC1. So that basically it's a registered security document. Now your business owes you the money personally. And what you have to do is you have to charge your company at least 1% higher than you're paying for your second mortgage. But your company's not going to pay all the fees, all the interest, all the legals. That's going to be in the loan. Why do I say do it this way? Well, not every business works out. And now that money can't be paid back by your company. So you're on the hook for it because it's on your house. But if you have that document in place, you now have what in Canada is an ABLE, allowable business loss, because you set it up properly with legal documents. And now your accountant doesn't have a problem writing that off your personal income tax over the next number of years. So protect yourself. Understand legals. When you have the right lawyer, they'll be able to explain these things to you. So always surround yourself with people. Always pay the best people the day you get their bill. And I promise you this, 95% of the time, if it's not 100%, it's always been 100 with me, but let's keep a little win time. Your future bills will be for less money. And you will not be charged for every time you pick up the phone and call your accountant or lawyer for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. Reason being, when they send out an invoice, they know they're getting paid right away. You're the person they want to do business with. And you just add one other thing that I always added to them. When I call you up, you pick up the phone. If you can't pick up the phone, you call me back before you call your wife or your children back. If you do that, I will pay you right away. If you don't do that and I have to wait 2 or 3 days to get the phone call returned, I will find a new lawyer. There are plenty of them. There are plenty of accountants. But if you pay them, They'll have no problems picking up the phone because you're the best client. Even if you're not the biggest, you're the best. They never worry about getting paid. Really important and will save you money in the long run. Now, it's spoken, I guess, general, maybe the business is a different setup. More important to have, the team, the team of three. But there are other avenues of financing you get when you're business, such as factoring, purchase order financing. EDC is more interested in helping you out. BDC is interested in helping you out. EDC is insurance. They can help you out. Uh, there's more avenues because there's more money when you're a business to be where you can go and people can lend money and it's larger numbers than if you're opening up a small variety store or a small restaurant. There's different financings. And again, that's where your business advisor comes into play on a business. Now, on a restaurant or even a small machine shop, you can get what's called an SBL loan, Canadian Small Business Loan. In the States, it's a different name. It goes a little bit higher. I forget what it's called with an S. SBA. It's called an SBA in the States. And you go for these loans because you don't have to guarantee as much. So in Canada, you can get only up to $500,000, but you're only guaranteeing 25%. But if you don't know about it, you're going to go and get a $500,000. You have to guarantee the whole $500,000. You have to qualify for 500,000. Where if you know what you're doing and your business advisor would know it, you're only guaranteeing 25%. You're only having qualified for 25%. These are important things to understand for the financing and growth of your business and the survival of your business. Now, again, financing is the most important. When you go to friends and family, you're asking them for money. They're going to look at your business plan, but really they just want to believe in you. You need to understand your business completely. But how much money do you ask for is one thing. And two, what are the repayment terms? And these are really important. So if you need 200,000, you ask for $200,000. You don't ask for 100 because you think that's all anybody's going to give you. They may only give you 100, but if you only ask for 100, that's all your maximum you're going to get. If you ask for 200, you might get 200. But here's the important thing. If you ask for 100 when you needed two, and you'll always need the two if you really thought you did, and you have to go back 6 months, a year later for the other 100, they're going to ask, what's the problem? But if they gave you the two at the beginning, they don't ask that question because you didn't come to them for more money. Now, when you deal with a bank, you see, you got to pay, you might get some forgiveness as far as only having to pay interest for 6 months, then principal. But when you're born from friends and family, you really just want to be paying either nothing or interest, but no repayment for at least 2 years. And the reason you want to wait for at least 2 years is you want two financial statements so that you have the opportunity, if you're making money, to go get outside financing from a bank or other institution. But you need that time frame and you don't want to be paying back. And you don't want to be promising that because if you can't pay it back, now that doesn't look good. Now, if you can't pay it back, they may not take their money back because you've been paying them interest. But if you owe back money and you, let's say after a year, you're sitting with 200,000 in the bank and you owe 200,000 to the family member, do not pay them back $200,000. You want to pay them back 50 or 100? Do so. Cash is king and you don't know when there's going to be a hiccup. So you don't have to pay back that money right away just because you have it. You do have to follow whatever the rules are, how you borrowed it, but you just want to borrow for 2 years minimum before there's any repayment. And you explain why. I need to put the money back in the business. And as long as they don't see you driving brand new cars, they'll be okay with that. So be smart about how you borrow money. Always ask for what you need or for more than you need. Never ask for less because you think that's all that's going to come your way. You will get in much more trouble because when a business runs out of money, the doors get closed. Money is the key to keeping your business going. And when you're new in business, cash is king and profit is down the road. So protect yourself. Don't promise things you can't deliver. Don't take on crazy money. And sometimes a partnership is more expensive. Sometimes it's less expensive because you have to decide what kind of partner you. Is it a silent partner? Is it a working partner? A silent partner is never silent. And you want a working partner that does something that you don't do. Remember, you don't want a partner that does the same thing as you. But if that partner can bring the money to the table, that's the kind of partner you need. If you need money, if they bring in expertise or a license, that's the kind of partner. But remember this, when you sell equity in your business, that's always more expensive than the interest you're paying for the money you're borrowing that you need. Because the partner never disappears, but you can always pay off the debt if you just borrowed it. So be careful before you take on a partner and give up equity. Sometimes it's a really good idea, sometimes it's not. Again, that's where you talk things over with your accountant and your lawyer and your business advisor. Talk it out. You don't have to make a decision that night. And anybody that pressures you to do that is not the partner you want. You can just make up your own mind no and find a new partner. Be careful what you do. Be ready to do it. Don't jump in because today you want to do it and you're all excited. Set it up properly, or you'll be closing the doors before you know it. Do it properly, and you have the best chance of surviving when most businesses don't. And most businesses don't survive because they didn't have the proper financing in place, or the owner didn't work hard enough. It really did. It's really true. A lot of times the owner doesn't work hard enough because they're the president, they're the owner. And I know that firsthand, being 22 years old and having a business. That first thing, that lesson. And I'm telling you, I remember that lesson to this day because it worked. It was just true. And these are things that go into starting a business. And you don't have to open it up on next Monday. You take your time and you do it properly, and you will have the best chance of succeeding.
Everything you heard today is for educational purposes only. It's not professional advice. Before you act on anything, talk to a certified expert in your area. Your accountant, your lawyer, someone who knows your situation. We share perspectives. You make the decisions. Want more? Head over to blog.knack4business.com, packed with practical episodes on AI, marketing, leadership, and growth. No fluff, just the good stuff. Subscribe while you're there. Until next time, keep building.